Okay, welcome to another update on Archmage Rises, the most sophisticated and amazing role-playing game ever made.
Howdy.
I was trying to figure out what I should say I've ever made. It's not quite made yet. Most amazing role-playing game in the works. We are busy working on Build 11, which we've been promising all year. And we are down to the nitty-gritty of it and trying to get it feature complete for next week, Friday, so that we can then test it the first week of January. And how has that been going, Nick?
It's been going good. We've been getting a lot of features in, lots of testing. Since we haven't been working on features as much, it's been going slower, but we're just getting a lot of necessary fixes finished.
Yeah. So we got to shoot a quick video here today. Basically, it's just a schedule update. We're just going to tell you a few things, nothing to show. We have to shoot this whole video, Nick, on under 23 minutes because that's how long the Bubble Guppies episode is that James is currently watching because I'm supposedly parenting right now as we shoot this video. So now what people don't know is you may only see a 5 or 7 minute video at the end, but that's because I cut out Nick talking he just goes on and on and on. And so I figured that, nobody wants to see that. So I just cut it up, little snippets.
Those are all lies.
Okay, and we also want to thank everybody for commenting on the build objectives. So I'm not sure if you saw in the posts there, Nick, that basically what we laid out and said, hey, this is what we're working towards for Build 11. Everybody came back and said, yeah, that's what we're expecting. So we're all on the same page.
Good.
Okay, good. Okay, so what are a couple things that are cool and interesting about the game that you've been working on this last week?
We're getting cooking in finally. So we had the building going, but now we're putting in cooking. I don't have my list with me, but mostly it's
highlights.
What else?
Just highlights.
Highlights. Tower drag and drop.
Oh, you got that in?
Yeah. Well, I'm working on it.
Oh.
As soon as we're done with this video, I'll hop it in. Most of the rest have been bug fixes.
Okay. On my side, I've been working still on the quests, more specifically on missing person quests. Now, what I've discovered over working on this now for 2+ weeks is missing person quests are really hard and quite involved when you're doing it from a simulator approach. So I was having all kinds of weird problems, of course. So the way that I test that a person is missing is as a player, I'll go to somebody and say, hey, come with me. And I just made the code so they just immediately agree, regardless of relationship or anything else. They're like, yeah, let's go. And then you take them out in the middle of nowhere and you sit there for 3 days. And then what's supposed to happen is after 3 days, people are like, hey, where is this guy? Like, how come he never came home and stuff, right? And so I have been working on that and all these ramifications that come out of it. So, for instance, it's pretty easy if you have a family member. The family members see each other. I talked about this in a post and a bit on the video before. So they see each other, and then if they don't see someone for 3 days, they're like, hey, my husband's missing or something. Okay, so what do you do for somebody who's living alone, right, and doesn't have that there? So the answer is that they don't go to work. Okay, so if they don't go to work, then hey, this person didn't show up for work and they're missing. But then there's even more difficulties within that. It's like, okay, well, they didn't show up for work. And so is he just playing hooky? Because I had a situation where the guy didn't show up for work for 3 days, but he was at home for some other reason. And he was sleeping next to his wife. But the workplace is like, hey, buddy hasn't come to work for a while. And then reaches into kind of our database of all kinds of people and stuff. And it says, hey, give me somebody who would care that this guy is missing from work. So it picks the wife that he's with and says, hey, this guy's missing. And she's like, oh no, he's missing, and creates a quest. And he's like right there. So that was pretty dumb. So then, I had to put in code in order to check to make sure, like, hey, are you with the person? And then I had to expand that out further, which is, if he hasn't shown up at work, but other people in the town have seen him, then he's still okay, right? And so yeah, there's just so many of these little situations that just keep cropping up. So I think I finally nailed it. I think I have handled every possible variation of the missing person quest you could ever have. So if a person who lives alone doesn't show up for work, then it'll pick like a family member in another town. It'll pick a friend within the town. But if the person doesn't have friends and they don't have family, then no one cares that they went missing.
That's right.
So there's a little quest goal for the player out there. It's like, you can just kidnap someone who nobody likes and lives alone, and probably get away with it. And so we've created Jack the Ripper simulator. So that's great.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is you don't know somebody is missing unless you have a memory of when the last time you saw them was. And
right.
So we just, Thomas had to build this whole system that's like making sure that they're aware of when and where everybody is, what they're doing, and creates a memory. So it's moving more towards like the memories being like a database of information that we can generate quests from, which is how the mayor uses it as well to create problems.
Yeah. And we have discovered that what we have today is insufficient for our needs, both current and going forward. And so we are going to have to go and just refactor that, just design up what I call the NPC brain. And so we're going to have an NPC brain, which is basically a database of everything that's ever happened in this person's life. And then we can query it. We can say, hey, did this happen? Did he get a new job? Did he quit his job? And blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, which is an insane amount of data, which is why we just have to make sure that it's really efficient so we can search through it really quickly. Because that's not a problem every hour or every day, but when you run it through a year, that adds up real fast.
If it takes 45 minutes to generate a world, Nick, then that's what it takes, okay, to get this level of awesomeness.
No way.
People are still playing Dwarf Fortress, and look at that UI. Come on. People will put up with a lot. In fact, we should take the Crusader Kings 2 marketing approaches. This game might be a little too hard for you. You
Nice.
probably shouldn't try to play this. It's probably just a little beyond you.
A little too hard is okay, but a little too long or a lot too long is a totally different problem.
You don't have the patience for this game. Move on. Go to something else. Something AAA.
Yeah. We'll speed it up.
Okay, we'll speed it up. So another thing that was kind of interesting about this missing person stuff, I mean, really, that's all I have to talk about because that's all I've done all week, so you have a person who goes missing because you took them away to go hunting or fishing or like whatever it is that you did with them. And then the person declares them missing, and then there's a quest. And so if you show up with the person who's missing, okay, in a very general sense, if you show up with the person who's missing, regardless of whether you accepted the quest or not, you should automatically receive the reward of the quest, right? That makes sense. So if someone gets captured, taken into a dungeon lair, like a goblin lair, and you find that person, you don't have to quickly run home, accept the quest, come back to the kidnapped person, take them, and then bring them home in order to get the quest reward, right? It just says, oh, there's a quest, you have the solution to it, great, it automatically solves it. So that works well, and that's great. And the second that they see you, they immediately respond correctly and whatever, and the person leaves your party and you get the quest reward. But it's pretty dumb if you kidnap the person and you can bring them back, right? Then you can totally game it, and so yeah, that's really broken. So what I had to do was say, okay, if the last person they saw the person with was you, then you're at fault, right? Whether or not you're actually at fault, because it very well he could have been with you and got captured by goblins or something like that, or you stopped fishing and you left him to go home, and that's when he got captured by goblins. But everybody will think it was you. And so the person actually gives you a tongue lashing, like, oh, you finally brought him home, or I never want to see you again or something. And then that required me creating an insult for the player. And then that necessitated creating an insult engine. And so we have naming engine, we have all kinds of things in this game that are procedural, and now we have a procedural medieval insult engine. So everybody who's pre-ordered is getting their money's worth on this, man. You will get so many great insults out of this game. You'll be laughing for social media for the rest of time. So one of the cool insults in there is a goblin-bedder. You goblin-bedder. I think that's really going to catch on. What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, better, not better, right?
Better,
With a D. Yeah.
Double D. So, that's about all I have to say. You goblin-bedder. Help make that saying popular, everyone. Oh, and thank you for the crowdsourcing of the insults on both Facebook and the Steam thread. I looked through all of them and put the best ones into the game, and there you go. So if you suggested lick spittle or hellkite, then you will be proud to see your contribution inside the game. Okay?
That's awesome.
Yeah, so we don't want any smell funguses out there thinking that their contribution was ignored. Okay, bye everybody.
Bye.